After dropping 2 videos on the Dragon Prince yesterday, their official account decided, hey, let's just drop every single episode title for Season 5 as well. Mamma mia, we got a lot to talk about. What's going on, everyone? James here with some real news, and today we're getting into all of my thoughts, theories, and we're breaking down every single episode title for Season 5 of The Dragon Prince. That's right, yesterday they went ahead and released every single episode title, and hey, I'm not mad at all of these reveals. It's been a busy past 24 hours because if you also missed it, I went ahead and dropped my trailer reaction and breakdown to the teaser trailer that was released on social media late last night. So after you watch this video, go on and check that one out because, boy, your jaw might be on the ground just like mine was. But today we're talking all about the Season 5 episode titles and what they could mean for each episode. So before we get into the news, how we got there, and all of my theories, if it is your first time here at the channel, welcome to Real James, where I love talking about movies, TV, and all the news in between. So if you do too, hit the big red button below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell because you're not going to want to miss out on the insane amount of videos I'm about to put out over the next couple of weeks. And go ahead and smash that like button if you are a big fan of The Dragon Prince, and get loud down below in the comments, and let me know which episode title gets you most excited. Alrighty y'all, so let's get into yesterday's news. The Dragon Prince's official Twitter account posted this: attention on deck. Here's a first look at the titles for all 9 episodes of Season 5 of The Dragon Prince, premiering July 27th, only on Netflix. Which are you most excited to watch? Eyes emoji. They stole my question for you. How could you? No, it's a good question. But with that tweet, they had a graphic that on the surface, it was just all 9 episodes and the titles, and it kind of tracks because, hey, the previous 4 seasons also had 9 episodes per season. So we know that now, after Season 5 debuts, it'll bring the total episode count for this series to 45 episodes. That's pretty cool, and you'd have to imagine each episode is probably going to be about a half an hour long. It would be surprising if maybe one of the episodes is closer to 40 or 45 minutes. That'd be really cool, but I doubt that. They're probably going to keep up the same cadence as seasons 1 through 4. Now, let's go ahead and transition into breaking down this graphic and each episode title. And yeah, you heard me correctly. There's something within this graphic that they tweeted out that, it's very interesting. And it's something that you might have missed because in the very background where it's kind of faded out and tough to see on a quick glance, you notice it's Claudia's hand reaching out to Viren's hand. So it's either Viren is sinking and Claudia's trying to save her father, or vice versa, Viren is trying to save a sinking Claudia, and our perspective is warped with this photo. The reason I give you 2 of those possibilities is because in the Season 5 trailer, yeah, it was the Season 5 trailer, we see Viren diving into the ocean's depths and trying to save Claudia. But what if this scene is either that, just in the inverse, or it really is now Claudia trying to save her father? I don't know. After yesterday's teaser trailer where we see Viren trapped inside of a coin, all I can say is this: it might be that the tables have finally turned on Viren. But you guys let me know what you think of that image. Now let's get into all of the episode titles, beginning with Chapter 1, Dominia Profundis. So guys, this is most likely going to be the episode where we get our first interaction between Dominia Profundis, the ocean archdragon introduced in this season, and King Ezran. We've seen this teased in the trailer, we've seen it teased in a clip, we've seen this teased in photos. So guys, it's going to happen. I'm just kind of surprised that it would happen so quickly. But maybe they've learned from their mistake, which was in Season 4, Rex Igneous was introduced very late in the season and barely had any staying power. Instead, it sounds like Dominia Profundis is going to have lots of things to do. And we're going to get this Archdragon all season long. But there are a few other possibilities in this episode as well. I think we'll get some backstory as to who Dominia Profundus is, and this might be a flashback moment narrated by Zubeia herself. There's also another chance that this episode ends with Callum and the gang learning that Erebos is in an underwater prison. Yeah man, my theory, I'm still sticking to that, where Erebos is in an underwater prison. It would make sense, not everyone can easily get to it, and it's guarded by Dominia Profundus? I could see that happening. And of course, one thing I do want to see in this episode, and one thing I think that happens in this episode is, we get that lovey-dovey moment between Rayla and Callum in the stargazing clip to happen here in the first episode. I think they're going to front load this season with a lot of nice, cute moments. And then, as you go down the list, it's going to get pretty dark. It might actually start getting pretty dark and grim in episode 2, because the second episode title is Old Wounds. Gosh, that's harsh. Now, I'm not exactly sure what this could point to specifically or who it could point to, but it might not be too far-fetched to imagine this is where we'll get the introduction to Kim Dael, also known as the Blood Moon Huntress, who has old ties to the Sunfire Elves and former Queen Aditi. Maybe this is when Janai is actually faced with that reminder of her past and what Kim Dael has done to her family, so old wounds are being opened up again. But that could also stretch to Rayla, for example, seeing and coming to terms with the reality that her parents and Runan are trapped inside these coins, and that would also probably hurt her and bring up past trauma. So gotta imagine that this season's gonna deal with a lot of our characters and their grief. Now for chapter 3, it has quite the title. It's being called Nightmares and Revelations. Now this definitely sounds like an episode that could take us on a bit of a journey with Viren. We've seen him in a nightmare-ish dream sequence via one of the first look images, and we know that he is clearly still conflicted about Erebos using Claudia. This is the episode that has potential to be probably one of the more emotionally heavy episodes. I mean, hey, could we get Callum's trauma being explored here? What about Rayla's trauma? Let's just throw in everyone's trauma in this episode, but I do think it really starts at the top with Viren. It would be nice to see Erebos in this episode as well come into play, either for Callum or maybe at the end Erebos sort of just pops up again, but we're going to have to start getting more of a presence with Erebos. It was one of the top 5 things that I thought we needed to see in season 5, so I'm sticking with that. I think Erebos is going to be introduced early in season 5 and going to stay. Alrighty, so let's move on to chapter 4. It's being called The Great Bookery. Now, this is a funny title, but I do think this will tie into Callum and Kazi in the library scene that was shown off in one of our first look images. Could this be Callum trying to find out certain new spells to cast to defeat Erebos? I mean, we heard Rayla, I believe it was, say in the season 5 trailer, they gotta figure out how to kill a Star Touch elf. So, I mean, y'all better get to studying, alright, Callum? But I do think it's going to be cool to see Kazi in this episode as well. That's just a nice character that I feel like we don't really spend too much time with in the series. Alrighty, so let's move on to chapter 5. This is the midpoint of the season, and this title is Archmage Akiyu. What? Alright. I've never heard this name before. Some of y'all have talked about it in the comments, but for the most part, this can mean one thing. A new character arrives into the Dragon Prince. Now, according to the Dragon Prince's wiki, they say, and I quote, Akiyu was a powerful tidebound elf archmage. Records of her have all but vanished from any modern text, even in Zadia's extensive libraries. So maybe chapter 5 is an extension of chapter 4 in the sense that Callum and Kazi are maybe not looking for a spell, but they're also looking for an archmage. That would be wild, but tidebound elf, of course, we know they're going to be introduced to tidebound elves in this season. It's all kind of lining up here, and I think this is where one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle comes together for Callum and the gang to hopefully defeat Erebos. So that would be really interesting. But a little bit more about the powerful tidebound elf archmage Akiyu. It says here that her skills and abilities really aren't well known, but according to the wiki, that Akiyu drew her power from the ocean and was at her strongest during the high tide or a rainfall. It's pretty basic things you probably will come to expect from an ocean archmage, right? So the last note here I have is that it's possible this archmage might not be dead after all and could come around to help Callum and the gang. Or the opposite happens. They do all the research, Claudia comes up on the scene and says, thanks, I'm gonna use this archmage. Or actually, it'd probably be Erebos that uses this archmage. Oh boy, here's the thing. If Callum and all his friends, all this research that they do, if it is undermined by Claudia and Erebos, we're not in for a good ride, friends. It's gonna be a rough one. Oh boy. Alrighty, so let's dive into chapter 6's title, and it's being called Bait and Switch. So my thoughts are, guys, Bait is going to drown. No, I'm kidding. Come on now. Bait's not going to drown. But I do think the title is obviously a little bit of a pun towards bait. But if I think beyond the good pun, what if it means this is the episode where Erebos breaks out of prison, okay? And it's all because they tricked Dominia Profundus. And I say they, I'm talking about Claudia, Terry, and Viren. That would be insane. Alrighty, so now we're transitioning to Chapter 7. It's being called Sea Legs. So this could be the episode that includes the scene that's actually been teased via the second poster we got, which is the Wicked Depths. I do think that eventually we're going to get a scene where Dominia Profundus is pretty upset, and that it's going to be that one little boat up against a big ol' ocean archdragon. But I do think we'll also learn in this episode how Callum got to sinking below the ocean depths, or maybe he's voluntarily swimming and Rayla and King Ezran are swimming after him to try and save him. So I do think that chapter 7 is going to be a lot of our characters on the ocean, whether they're actually physically in the ocean or they're on the boat that is sailing across the sea. It's going to be interesting to see what exactly happens in chapter 7. I also think here we might actually get the Rayla moment too, where Callum holds Rayla's hand to go and jump into the water. But we'll have to see. So now, let's talk about Chapter 8. Finnegrin's Wake? That's a tongue twister. Part of me thought, is this like a new character? Finnegrin? Actually, no, it's probably a new location, isn't it, you guys? Now, I looked on the official Dragon Prince map of Zadia and the Human Kingdoms, XYZ. I couldn't find Finnegrin's Wake anywhere. However, because this is the penultimate episode for season 5, right? Guys, this is going to be one that has to pack a huge punch. And last season, with season 4, I thought the penultimate episode was okay. It wasn't very great, but I do think that they'll learn from their mistakes, and I expect a lot of crazy things to happen in episode 8. Now, what do I think happens? Well, it could be that if Erebos isn't already out of prison, this is the episode where he breaks out. Viren is probably going to be on the brink of death. Callum is trapped. And then Rayla is possibly meeting her parents and or Runan. Now that sounds like a lot for one episode, sure, but I'm thinking that all of those things are at play and possibly happening in this episode because, again, you gotta move things along. You got 9 episodes, 30 minutes each. Do not waste your time, and I don't think Justin Richmond and Aaron Nahas will waste their time. I think at episode 8, we'll talk about which one my most anticipated episode is, but it might be this one. So for the season 5 finale, chapter 9, it's being called Infantis Sanguine. Sanguine? How do I pronounce that, guys? But I think in this episode, things are gonna go bad for everyone. So I decided to Google this title and couldn't find anything, and I said, let me use Google Translate, because it sounds kind of Latin in a way. Well, one part of it is not Latin. It is Portuguese, though. So after using Google Translate, Infantis translates from Portuguese to English as children. So it is children in Portuguese. It's kind of cool. And sanguine is defined, of course, according to Google Dictionary, as an optimistic or positive, especially in apparently bad or difficult situations. So someone who is optimistic or positive, but it has a second meaning, and I think this second meaning is not great. The second definition is blood red, as an adjective, of course, because it's a hyphenated word here. So guys, oh no. Children, blood red. Could it mean that Kim Dael, the Blood Moon Huntress, This is the episode where she goes full scorched earth, possibly being told by Erebos, so maybe they're working in tandem, where you see the Sunfire elves possibly getting defeated. You see all the humans getting obliterated by Claudia and the gang, and then Erebos going and doing his own thing now that he's out of prison. I think this is going to be the episode that deals with a lot of big character moments and a big character death. One of our major characters, I think, is going to die in this episode. It's possibly going to be Viren. I'm still sticking to the fact that Viren is going to be the major character to be written off this season. And if it happens in Chapter 9, well, that would be very shocking. So now that we've gone through each episode, I've given you my thoughts and we've talked a little bit about my theories. I think there are some things I didn't mention that still might happen. Our crew is most likely going to be sailing to the Sea of Cast Out, the far reaches possibly. Going to the ruins of Valerian, I don't think you can sail there, but you can walk there. And they'll possibly get wrapped up in the Spinning Sea. That's where a shipwreck could happen, at the Spinning Sea, because it's literally a spinning part of the ocean. It's tough to get out of that one. But I do think that we'll explore some areas of Zadia that we haven't previously explored. And hey, if Finnegrin's Wake is in location, it's not on that map again, so it's going to be something new for us. So there are still a lot of surprises ahead for season 5. But there you have it, you guys. Those are all of my theories. We just broke down every single episode title, so now it's up to you. Let me know down below in the comments what your thoughts and theories are. Which episode are you most looking forward to? For me, it's Chapter 8, only because of the possibilities. It's a penultimate episode, and it has so much potential to bring about tension. It's got a lot of surprises, I'm sure, in store, and it might be the emotionally heavy episode that we've been asking for since season 4. But y'all, again, thank you so much for tuning in. So if you're here at this point, you might as well subscribe to the channel and tap on that bell, because next week we got a lot more news to talk about. Heck, if the Dragon Prince, if they decide to drop more stuff on their official accounts today, I guess we're gonna have to talk about that too. So just get subscribed, tap that bell, and hit the thumbs up button so you can see more of these videos and other Dragon Prince fans can see them as well. Alrighty, y'all, again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you at the next screening.